NTV Wild Talk in partnership with the Kenya Wildlife Service and Wildlife Direct.
Hello and welcome to NTV Wild Talk with me, Smriti Vidyarthi, coming to you from one of Mombasa's best kept secrets. This is Haller Park. I'm surrounded by lush green trees and it's so refreshing to be here. But did you know that once upon a time all this land was a quarry, dry, barren, ugly in appearance? But there was one man who worked hard towards transforming it into a paradise. That man was Dr. René Haller. I caught up with him earlier and here's my conversation. Pleasure to have you with us on NTV Wild Talk. Thanks very much for joining us.
Pleasure.
Now, Haller Park, named after you, Dr. Haller. Tell us, where is that connection? How did it happen?
The strange thing is I'm still alive. Usually name it only people which are already dead. But you know, I started a long time ago. I started in 1971 when the quarries of the cement company got bigger and bigger. I said, you know, we have to do something. And also the cement company was worried because they were really an ugly scar in the landscape. They were excavating right very close to the groundwater table, and nobody thought that you can do something without actually bringing a lot of soil and to use chemicals to get it growing. But I could prove, I said, we can, if you follow the lead of nature, how nature has been doing it, and I looked at volcanoes and things where afterwards nature has been rehabilitating the areas themselves. So I learned a lot on that side. And what was there, I saw a casuarina. That's a tree which comes out of the Indo-Pacific, close to Australia, and is mainly a desert tree because it needs actually very little water. And I saw one growing in my garden, which is a sand dune in front, and there was nothing else, no humus, no nothing. So it might be a chance for our quarry.
And look what happened. I mean, this land here had been completely transformed from dry, barren land. When we see photographs, it's hard to imagine that Haller Park is the result. Really, how challenging was it at the time to transform such a dry area?
The challenge, of course, nobody believed that it can be done. There is another big problem was the salt, the salinity. We are only about 500 meters from the sea, and the groundwater table is saline. And so in the areas where they went right down to groundwater, it was glittering with salt crystals and really nothing grew, you know. And that's why I had to find, in the early days I collected about 26 different species of trees and planted them in the ground here and see what could grow. After 6 months I could make a choice, but I made many mistakes as well on the thing, because at first I made a hole into the rocks. It's hard rock, put some soil in it, but the tree behaved like a plant in a flower pot, so they were, and that didn't work for a long time, so I had to change the methods at the time. But the one which grew at the first was actually a tree from Somalia, from the coastal plain of Somalia, called Conocarpus, and the other one was the casuarina. Casuarina were producing a lot of leaves, which they dropped, or branchlets, and that gave the next problem, because there was piles and piles of these needles that didn't turn into humus because the tannin level is very high, no animal would eat it. By chance, I found under my casuarina tree at home, which has been washed onto shore at one stage, an early stage, I found a millipede with red legs, which was actually eating them. Oh. And that was, then I sent my little boys out. They were just about 5-6 years old at the time, and I sent them out into the bush to collect millipedes. So they chewed the millipedes, and the millipedes were multiplying very fast and produced humus. Then they need bacteria as well, because there was nothing there, which I got from the coastal forests, so Koke and the south coast. And so we slowly built up everything and actually gave nature a helping hand.
It must have taken so much patience and dedication and of course practice, as you say, to wait and see the results.
Yeah, and the other thing was of course that everybody thought, oh, this fool, you know, you cannot plant trees on rock without soil. Right. Why I didn't use any soil, I said I don't want to denude agricultural land. The coast is anyhow very, very difficult with soil. You have poor soils, and we didn't want to get soils from somewhere else and bring them in here. So we actually had to do it, you know, cut the leaf out of nature. So slowly built the whole thing up. And within about 10, 15 years, we had 10 centimeters of humus. And then we could bring in a lot of indigenous trees from the coastal area, and encourage then monkeys and bats and whatever it is. We created new habitats for birds, and they all helped with the humus to build up an ecosystem. Another interesting, important thing was actually the animals which I brought in, and I brought actually in the early days when there was bushland here, that was a Pleistocene coral which they make cement out of it. There were bushbucks and sunnis and some duikers around, and they moved soon in from the surrounding bushland, came down here. But then I need everything else. I need, for instance, I need giraffes, which were feeding much higher up, and mainly to produce, get the droppings from it to help the humus to grow. You know, the humus could grow up, and then note that, for instance, every time I did something, I created also another problem. For instance, when there were too much fecal matter around, there had too many flies. And then what had to go to the bush again and find some dung beetles, which we introduced. There were many different dung beetle species which we introduced, which were afterwards reducing the fly population.
So you were really using nature to address some of the problems that nature presented to you.
That's right. You know, if I wouldn't have done it, it would have taken hundreds of years to get the thing there.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, had that restoration plan not taken place at the time, what would the consequences be?
You know, one thing is for instance, if there would be coral, hard coral, the coral gets so hard like lava with oxygen, and on the ground it's a black area, so it has to be covered as fast as possible with vegetation. That's why it's really important to put all these things into it. And if you say, it would have taken maybe 100, 150 years or something to get something like it was. The clean thing was that they started with a pioneer tree, a tree which would cover the ground. It's very important that the bacteria and everything could grow underneath. Our pioneer tree here is the casuarina, and they have a short lifespan normally, okay. And they should be replaced by others after 5 or 10 years. Right. The second thing which was very important was the economics, because none of the projects, you see the lovely projects, are surviving at the moment the economy doesn't work, you know. Animals, if you give money and get money from outside, that has to do it itself. So we said, you know, okay, we have to, the trees, the excess trees which we have got down there, we have to make charcoal, firewood out of it. We can have fruit trees, we have many other things which we can grow in here, and that does actually help the thing to pay. And then tourism was one. It was very clever that back then, you had to think about ways of maintaining this ecosystem. Haller Park, named after you, your creation along with your team, is still standing tall today, and it is really your legacy. How does that make you feel when you look around today? What kind of feeling does it bring about inside you? You know, it's nice to see. I know every tree which is in here. That's very nice to know. Including this one here, which I just started with a stick. You know, it's one stick which I got out of a garden somewhere. And
absolutely,
it's fascinating. But you know, I never stop think. It's not something which you sit back and look. I said, what could one improve? What could one here? You know, I'd always looked into a longer future. What is in 50 years' time? That was very important. First thing, you need to live in the beginning, so you have to get something, and then that you can live off, and then later on it should be more and more valuable.
And you know, your work here started back in the 70s and continued, but now we're in 2017. Are you still carrying on with similar sort of work?
I am renting a piece of land just outside here, about 4 kilometers inland, which is also the raw material reserve. It's Jurassic clay. And there I have done a very similar thing. That's for the local people now.
Right.
You know, this is based on for the students, because we cannot protect our environment and the animals if the people do not accept it, if they don't understand it. And that's my greatest pleasure, to see the kids learning on the thing.
And that understanding is
nature and the connections, everything is interlinked, and if you cut one out, you know, you lose the other, and so that's the thing.
Indeed. Well, thank you for helping us understand Haller Park and how it all began, and we are grateful for you. It is an incredible, incredible place. Thank you so much for your time,
Thank
Dr.
you, it was
Haller.
a pleasure. Thank you.
So that was my earlier conversation with Dr. René Haller. But now it's time to explore Haller Park as it is today. I'm about to meet Karima Nyinge. He is the Ecotourism and Customer Service Officer here at Haller Park. Come with me. Karima, hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, great to meet you. I am in awe because I've just walked through a little bit of Haller Park, and to think that this was a quarry before and now it's a healthy looking ecosystem is pretty unimaginable. But take us through where we are. It's beautiful.
Yeah, indeed, almost 40 years ago it used to be a quarry, but today we all appreciate seeing these different species of trees here. We started off with casuarina, species of a tree, but today, as you can witness, different species of palms here. These are actually one of the areas where we started introducing the different rare species of palm and also endangered species here. Among them, fishtail palm, golden palm, Borassa's palm, traveler's palm. So currently, you have actually marveled to a very healthy ecosystem, and currently is harboring so many of the animal species down here.
Indeed, this is almost like a hidden gem, you know, that a lot of people may have not quite discovered.
Currently, Haller Park has grown to be very popular. Among them are schools, among them are foreigners, among them the general local public. Out of these, over 70% is actually the locals, and out of the locals, again, over 80% is actually the schools. Foreigners only record about 20%.
And Haller Park really has rejuvenated in such a great way. As you said, there's so many species. Over there, I can even see there's a huge, giant tortoise as well. So lots of wildlife. But how important is it that all of these creatures and all of these plants are put in one place, but very systematically and very cleverly?
Well, what has grown out of currently is this is a very safe sanctuary, as we mentioned earlier, for rare species and endangered species. So what actually happens is, all these troubled species, when they're brought over to Haller Park, our role is to nurture them. But at all levels, we allow nature to control everything. We'll only come in to give nature a helping hand. A good example is, this tortoise we're seeing over here, its homeland is in Aldabra, Seychelles.
Oh, wow.
Now, how they came to this place, that at one time they used to be carried along by sailors for fresh meat. So we can only imagine how life it was around those days.
Yeah.
By the day they were washed ashore, this was located as a very safe place for them. They were brought over, and currently they're actually part of this animal life in Haller Park. Not only that, the water you see here today, at one time there used to be very poor life, there used to be very poor life in it, but currently they are very rich. There are so many fish here, tilapias, catfish, guppies, mullins, and they all play a very important role in this ecosystem.
It's a stunning place. As you said, lots of visitors, lots of locals come in. What are some of the biggest tourist attractions here at Haller Park?
In the forest here, we have actually the range animals, giraffes, antelopes.
Over here?
Yes, in this place here. Now, one of our key areas where be possible the jump may trouble is actually a reptile park. where we have different species of snakes. Currently, we are talking over 12 different species of snakes.
Really?
Then
And
we have in population around 41 different species of snakes.
I can imagine that must be one of your most popular spots, yet so many people are afraid of snakes, but they are fascinating to look at. Let's head over there. I'm guessing it's up that way.
Exactly. Yeah, this is how we're heading
All
to.
right, let's go. Wow, so this is the reptile park where we are bound to see some snakes, Karima. I don't see one here though.
Yeah, this is actually an open terrarium. Now, beneath the shell, we're seeing these are puffaders.
Oh my, yes, I do see them.
These are basically ground dwelling snakes.
Wow.
Very humble.
Very humble.
Very humble. And the beauty of snakes that now, they would only attack in self-defense.
Right.
But many times, snakes will always keep off from the human presence.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why many of us were not privileged to come across snakes in the bushes. Yeah, you only see them possibly extra lucky.
That's right.
Yeah.
And where are these snakes from here in the sanctuary? How many do you have?
Yes, no, here currently in terms of population we have 42 different, 42.
Okay.
Yeah, in terms of population, but we actually are talking of 12 different species of snakes. Right. And you know, our focus is not only on snakes, there are other reptiles. Come to realize that now many of us are not actually don't fancy reptiles. Yeah.
Yes.
So this is actually a refuge center. A refuge center in that many of these have been collected from people's homes.
Oh, right.
Yeah, worshipping centers.
Wherever
health centers,
snakes may be found,
yeah.
And no doubt they may have been killed if they weren't brought over here.
Exactly, yeah. So as here we have some expertise whereby any time our people call us, we'll send them over to go and actually collect them, yeah.
Oh, and look, you mentioned that there's other reptiles. I've just noticed a baby tortoise right there.
Yeah, these are leopard tortoises.
Okay.
Yeah, and they actually are they come in two different habitats. The one you see right at the far end,
yes,
with kind of a molded shell, that's actually, they live in the forests. But the ones you see molded is like a very smooth shell. These are actually the grasslands, leopard tortoises, yeah. So you can actually get to see how habitats can actually do to modeling the different species of animals, yeah. And they are beautiful, as you can see them, but they also have a very important role into the ecosystems.
Oh, they are so cute.
The other beauty thing of this attraction in Halapak here is not only here as a refuge center, but also it contributes so much in education and also creating awareness to the general public that we all become snake lovers.
Really?
See, snakes and many people have hate snakes because you see, what we come to learn, we cannot tell from their colors or from their sizes that now which one is poisonous or which one is safe. So people will always tend to ignore snakes and go killing them.
There is a big fear, of course, of snakes. But I suppose, like you say, you incorporate education, so that the schools that come in here, you then teach them about the importance of these creatures.
One of the key things we need all of us to know is that now they play a very important role in our human life cycle, because they're the ones who will go eat the pests.
Yes.
Yeah, they'll go eat the rodents.
Of course.
So when they clean the environment, it becomes health for us. And,
so as you've heard, we need snakes, and this is a great place to see some of them, and also the amazing tortoises as well. When people come and visit Hala Park, are there guided tours here that take place?
Yes, because currently our focus is on education. So we want to make sure this knowledge and information get into school children, so that they can pick it up, grow with it, and also continue spreading the same word, so that now we are taking care of the future generation of these creatures to continue live among the human population because of their importance.
Right, and again, if we just look at the biodiversity here, it looks amazing. Remember that this Hala Park was, of course, a quarry once upon a time, about 40 years ago. And look what it's become today. Absolutely fascinating trees and so many animals, like you said as well.
Yes, yeah, true. As we've been mentioning earlier, currently we're so vast. Hippos, buffaloes, antelopes,
really?
Giraffes, crocodiles. And we have an advantage because currently we are running a fish farm whereby we produce fish for sale.
Oh.
So many of our neighbors here, the community around us, the hotels, the restaurants, they're actually a source of protein close by. So it's actually a very, very actually a product
so
we only need to be proud of, not only as Bamburians. Yes. But again now the community here, Kenya, and I see it's actually a global item. When Bamburi Cement looked at Hala Park, Yeah, this is where they're actually showcasing the success of this environmental management responsibility.
So there really is so much that Haller Park is offering. Now, you mentioned other wildlife. I'm finding it hard to believe that really you've got hippos and giraffes and all that over here. But we will no doubt see all of that after the break. You are watching NTV Wild Talk with me, Smriti Vidyarthi, coming to you from Haller Park right here in Bamburi, Mombasa. Do stay with us. More coming up. Welcome back to NTV Wild Talk with me, Smriti Vidyarthi, coming to you from Haller Park here in Mombasa. So this is the game sanctuary, and indeed you're right, there are so many wild animals here. We've seen some oryx and some eland behind us, and ahead of us 2 huge hippos. Tell us more about this sanctuary.
This is the area where oryx, eland antelopes, buffaloes share a home.
Wow.
But we've done it in a way that we've separated their feeding areas so that now there are no fights.
Oh, good, because I can imagine.
Yeah.
And I noticed, though, that, you know, the hippos are being fed at the moment. So that means that this is a sanctuary, so there is a systematic feeding program. They're not hunting for themselves, obviously.
Now, when we're doing this feeding, we are looking at 3 items. One, as an attraction. You see, this area is very rich in vegetation. Yeah. So whether we come in to give them food or not, they will still survive. The advantage of Haller Park, now, water table is very high here. Yeah, you dig about 30 centimeters or you dig about 100 centimeters in places, you already come to the water table. So actually, over time, we've actually taken advantage of this. So there's plenty of grass and also other vegetation here. But now this feeding is done to actually give an opportunity to the public when they come at this time, they can actually see these animals very close. The other item is a management tool. Yeah, it may occur that now these hippos need our support or kind of some help from us. So we don't want them to actually be total strangers with our people who work with them.
Right.
Now, by always time to time meeting them, feeding them, we create a relationship.
Who are these hippos? Do they have names?
Exactly, yes. These hippos have names. The huge ones you see is actually the male. His name is Potty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Potty is a travel hippo. He's a travel hippo. He was brought over from Germany. Yeah, he actually lived in a mobile circus.
Really?
Now, when life became terrible, this area already had been known as a safe sanctuary.
Yeah.
So arrangements were made in a cargo plane to Nairobi, Lufthansa, then low-landed to Mombasa in the park back in 1986.
Oh, wow.
Sally was the first one to arrive, the smaller in size.
Yeah.
She was located all alone around Lake Baringo. And for a few years, she was in Naivasha with the Roots family. And then this again was a bright place for her. So she actually arrived here in 1976.
And that's the story of Sally and Potty. Do they have a baby?
No baby now.
Okay.
Yeah, actually nobody can actually give you possible maybe the true answer.
Yeah.
But what we suspect or what we kind of anticipate, see at times animals in circus and are looking at the nature of hippos. Hippos are very aggressive or they hate humans most.
Yeah.
Now for him to actually perform, he was made to comply and go into the circus. So it's no wonder maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, he was messed up in terms of his genitals.
Really?
Or possibly got induced to actually calm him down, yeah. We are glad and happy and appreciate currently as food recovered now.
Most definitely. Yeah. And so, we can, of course, see tourists here and local people enjoying watching Sally and Potty. But there are, as you said, lots of other animals. There's giraffes. We see lots of monkeys and buffaloes. But how do you manage the wildlife here? Because what if there's too much or too little? What impact would that have on the ecosystem?
Yeah, in fact, now, right from the beginning, what have been very important for us is actually always to get a balance in terms of life cycle. That is, we make sure there's actually the population is here, it meet the requirements in terms of food availability, accommodation, and also want to work with health populations. So what we do here, we work with other agencies. Kenya Wildlife Services is actually our biggest partner here in terms of this wildlife management. So anytime we realize the population is actually going overboard, these are the people we will always work with and make sure we always have a population we can manage fully. That food is always available and we're doing with healthy populations.
All right. Well, Karima, what an exciting treat it is to be here in Hala Park, but it doesn't stop here. There is so much more to explore. Thanks very much. In just a moment, I'm heading out to find out what else there is. So with me now is Joseph Ojuja. He is the wildlife officer here at Hala Park, and we are in a very exciting location at the moment. What we can see are about 10 or so crocodiles right down here. Joseph, they're waiting for their feeding time, and of course they have already gathered up a crowd. How often does the feeding happen?
This is not the feeding that we do for the crocodile, but we do it just like a management tool for us, and also for the visitors to have a close-up look at the crocodiles. Now, this is just one of the pens that we keep the crocodiles here in Hala Park. The ones you are seeing here, these are the breeder crocodiles, we call them. The way we collect the eggs and the young ones. But the feeding actually is for the visitors, as you can see on the other end. The visitors are waiting for the crocodile feeding. The main reason we have the crocodiles here in Hala Park for once is because some 46 years back, there was a big problem with crocodiles being hunted down for their meat and their skin. So this is actually an conservation initiative to make sure that we breed the crocodiles here so that we don't lose them altogether.
Wow, so they're really not just here for show. These crocodiles here are here for a reason, very ready to eat. What can we expect when we see them being fed? What are they going to be fed?
What we do here, there's one of our staff who will go there with some meat. He'll be giving them the crocodile. They'll come up trying to get that meat, and it is a marvelous show to see.
And when you say meat, I mean, what kind of meat is it? Because of course crocodiles play an important role in the ecosystem. They clean up to an extent, don't they?
Exactly, and that's one of the biggest reasons we have the crocodiles in Hala Park, because we keep other animals. We have the elands, we have the oryx and the others. So in case by some unfortunate event we lose any animal, we don't just throw it away somewhere in the dustbin. These are like our environmental cleaners. We bring that meat here and feed them to our crocodiles, as you can see.
All right, well, these crocodiles do look very, very hungry. One huge one is right there, ready to go for its feeding. So let's not keep them waiting for too long. Let's wait for the feeding to start. Oh, what a sight that was. Of course, those crocodiles were incredible, grabbed the crowd's attention, but it doesn't stop here. Joseph, what more do you have for us?
Yeah, we can go to the orphanage.
Okay, let's go for it.
Good. Welcome to the orphanage. I think this is the cradle of life here in Hala Park. It all began from here. Now this is Asa. Oh, he's already...
Hi!
Now Asa is from Tana Delta. Actually, he's an orphan.
Really?
What happened is that the mother was eaten up by a lion.
Asa!
And then he was rescued by some herdsmen in Tana Delta, and he was brought here. Why we called him Asa is because he's the place where he was found.
Oh my
He's
goodness.
not alone. He doesn't live here alone. He has a friend. There's a Ijara. He's somewhere here. We'll find him.
Is that him?
Oh yeah, I've seen that one is Ijara.
Oh my
I hope he
goodness,
comes to
this
say
is-
hi to you too.
Yeah, I
Jora,
I really am in
Come on.
awe. I didn't expect this.
you
here
have
at
a
the-
friend here today, Jora. Jora, come on.
Hi. Hi.
Okay, now that one is Ijara.
Okay.
Ijara is he was rescued from Ijara Conservancy. We don't know what happened to the mother, but one time some of the herdsmen there just found him walking along with the sheep and goats. So he was taken to the sheep's boma.
Ooh,
He
woo,
lived-
woo.
He lived, don't worry, he's friendly, he's
Okay.
friendly. He lived with that herdsman in the boma
Oh.
for 1 year before he was brought to us here. So now we are
Really?
taking good care of him, feeding him, and you can see he's happy. Eventually, we let him out in the nature to range like any other animal that you've seen.
I mean, this is
Yeah.
amazing. So these animals here really have personal stories.
Sure.
But what kind of a frame of mind might they be in? Because essentially they are, of course, orphans.
Now, the good thing is that eventually we let them free in the range. But you know, when they come in, they cannot feed by themselves.
Yeah.
We have to bottle feed them to a certain size. Like now, very soon we'll be releasing them. So when they come in as toddlers, you leave them out there, they'll definitely starve.
Wow.
So you have to keep them here to hand rear them until they are adults, then they can find food by themselves.
Absolutely amazing. And of course, there is no way that anybody can come to Haller Park without experiencing the story of Owen and Mzee.
Wow, you just reminded me. In fact, this is where Mzee and Owen were living.
For those who don't even know, who is Owen, who is Mzee?
Okay, now Owen, you remember the tsunami of 2004,
Yes.
December 2004? Those are huge waves which came to our seas here. It moved deep into River Sabaki, and then it was going back into the sea. It carried with it a lot of animals. One of them was Owen and his mother.
And Owen is what animal?
He's a hippo.
Oh.
He's a hippo. Unfortunately, we don't know what happened to Owen's mother. But some 3 days later after the tsunami, Owen was washed up on the beach. And then some good nature-loving friends
Yeah.
there found him and they brought him to Haller Park.
Okay.
When he was brought in, he was all alone, looking very miserable. So we found him a friend. And that friend was Mzee, the tortoise.
Oh, and that
Yeah.
is Mzee. Well, we've got to go and say hello to Mzee. He looks absolutely huge from here.
Yeah, sure. So actually, Mzee lived with Owen for some 20 months. And then after some time, they were very good friends. Mzee could put his head inside Owen's mouth and Owen will be so happy, you know, they will playful.
Oh,
but then
oh.
after some times, it's
Wow.
like Owen realized that Mzee is not one of his kind.
Of course,
So he
because
suddenly started getting aggressive.
this was a story about
Yeah.
a tortoise who made friends with a hippo.
Yeah. So to protect Mzee, also to save Owen a lot of trouble, we had to separate them eventually.
Okay.
So right now Mzee is here, but you can see he still have company with Jara and Asa.
Yeah.
And Owen, you are moving to another area where he's got a bigger pond, deep waters, and he's so happy there.
Okay, well,
Don't be scared. He's friendly. He's very friendly.
how old is Mzee?
Mzee is, we always estimate around 150 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And how old will he live for? How long do you think he'll live for?
The documented record of Aldabra tortoise is known. They have lived for around 200 years. So we hope
Amazing.
that Mzee will break that record.
Oh, Mzee, good luck. Wow, that is absolutely amazing. But we must go and meet
Mzee,
Owen as
good.
well.
You know, Mzee is very friendly.
And Mzee is very
And-
active as well for his age.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
well,
Mzee,
now
welcome back. We'll
we'll
come back
let,
and give you something.
we'll let Mzee rest for a little bit. Let's go over now to meet Owen.
This is the new home for Owen.
All right?
Yeah.
And
You can
how
see it
is-
is bigger
It
compared
is.
to where he was initially.
Much, much bigger, so
Yeah.
much more space.
Exactly.
And I see, oh wow, hello.
He's already. Wow,
That is
beautiful,
Owen.
beautiful.
Wow. So this is a huge, huge hippo. And is there anybody else in this space, or is it just solely?
Unfortunately for now, no. He still doesn't have a companion. So there's still more room for another one.
And how does this sort of an ecosystem help Owen? Because as much as he may be alone and missing Zay, the tortoise, how is this better?
Yeah, to him it is better because in the first place where you saw, the ponds were smaller, so he was like living in a bathtub. But now you can see he's got the whole lake to himself.
Yeah.
So he's enjoying himself, although he's all alone at the moment, but we hope maybe one day he might get company.
Oh, this is really spectacular, and I noticed that there is actually some food here, and we are going to get the opportunity to feed
Exactly.
Owen.
Exactly.
Visitors don't get this, so this isn't an exception, but let's see how it works.
Yeah, you know, because he came as a toddler, he's used to this kind of food.
Oh.
He's a lucky hippo, because a hippo eating watermelon, cabbage, you know, this is like Christmas to other hippos.
Of course.
So we'll feed him. We do this to every day. We feed him. So at least we'll do it with you also so that you can see how he enjoys life here.
Sure. And remember, Owen is an orphan, so whilst he doesn't have a family or his mother, he is... Woo!
Owen.
He is looked after very well. Owen, where are you going? It's time to eat. Oh, Owen, did we scare you off? Wow, there's Owen
No,
in
he'll
the
come
water.
back. He'll come back. Maybe because he's always used to seeing me. I'm with another one person.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
okay. Wow, Owen looks so spectacular. How old is he?
Owen, 2004, when he came here, he was about 3-4 days old. So that's about 14, 13 years.
How long do hippos live for?
In captivity, they say about 40, 45 years. Not in captivity, in the nature, but in captivity, they can stay even longer. So we hope we'll live 50, 60 years plus.
Oh, wow. All right, well, let's just wait a moment and
Owen.
see if Owen comes out. So there now is Owen finally coming out to be fed. No doubt we've got to be careful because hippos can be dangerous. Oh, Owen looks beautiful.
Owen. Good, Owen. Good boy. Some more.
Look at those teeth.
Some more yummy. Yummy, yummy.
How
Wow,
much
so you can
does
have
Owen...
this.
Oh, okay. Owen's coming.
Yeah.
Ooh la la. So that's how you feed Owen.
That's how we feed Owen.
Almost like a throw into the mouth.
Yeah, because you don't wait for him to take it from you. It is you
Otherwise,
to-
your hands will be taken too. How much
There's some
does
more.
Owen eat in a day?
we bring food for him from our other areas. We bring grass, like 35 kgs, 40 kgs of grass every day.
Owen takes time to chew
He's
his
enjoying,
food.
you know, he's enjoying the food.
Tasting the
Tastes
flavors.
nice, you know.
Got to chew well. Your mama taught you well. Okay,
Some more.
I hope I can do this. Let's try.
Okay,
Oh.
when he opens,
Okay.
I won't throw mine.
Okay.
You don't have to rush it. Eh?
Okay.
Just,
Oh, okay. Oh,
Owen,
shucks.
here. Owen.
Way.
Whoa, that's it.
Oh, wow. Chomping
You're a
on
good
that
shot, eh?
watermelon.
On target.
So Joseph, as we just give Owen a break from feeding,
Yeah.
you know, it's been incredible to see the kind of biodiversity here at Haller Park, from the different species of trees to the different animals. Overall, what is the importance of Haller Park to this area?
I think from what you've seen all this came from a bear quarry,
Yeah.
a very ugly looking big hole in the middle of nowhere. Now, you see, we have seen the kudus, we have seen the giraffes, we've seen the hippos like Owen here. All these are animals who are not happy wherever they were. They were endangered, or they had nobody to take care of them. So Hala Park right now is acting like a rescue center for any needy animals in this region. And we are working hand in hand with KWS on that. They are very much supporting us. We are so grateful to them. And also, we are restoring the ecosystem. You can see, today, like Hala Park is a green island in the concrete jungle. So all these trees, they play a very good role in the ecosystem. I think you've seen we have the plant right there, and we've got all these trees here. So it's like a very good carbon sink in this area.
And they're coexisting
of
together.
The industry and nature.
It's
perfect.
It is indeed perfect. That is a great word to describe Hala Park. Joseph, thank you so much. Well, that is the story of Hala Park. But now it is time to shift focus on NTV Wild Talk. Here is our wild guess question. Hala Park used to be a quarry. In what year did the restoration process begin? Hala Park used to be a quarry. In what year did the restoration process begin? To participate, you must like the NTV Wild Facebook page. Only answers posted on the timeline post that's associated with this question will be considered. The first person to answer correctly wins one night for 2 people at Kika Lodge. Hidden in the heart of the Rift Valley and nestled against the banks of the Gilgil River, this luxurious boutique hotel offers spectacular views of the hills. And the charming canvas cottages with opulent beds and plush armchairs offer a mixture of rustic style and luxury just 2 hours away from Nairobi. The winner also gets free entry for 4 people and a vehicle to any national park, courtesy of the Kenya Wildlife Service, and a gift hamper courtesy of Wildlife Direct. Terms and conditions apply and can be found on the NTV Wild Facebook page. Last week's lucky winner was Francis Magomere. And now, here is our Wild Pick segment. Mustafa Adamji was at the Tana River Delta. He says he was monitoring the population of water birds and habitat destruction in the area. Mustafa says, "I love birds and I'm deeply troubled by how people are affecting natural ecosystems." At the Mount Kenya Game Ranch in Nanyuki, this is a snap of Anthony Gadhi. He was hanging out and having fun with a distant cousin, he says. Obviously a monkey. Anthony was there for business but decided to support local tourism during his free time. Peter Matolo was in the Nairobi National Park. He was taking a selfie with this king of the jungle. Peter says he was there to pick up visitors from Eastgate. He stopped to take a picture when he saw this lion, and then he showed the picture to his visitors to explain why he was 2 minutes late to get them. Near the Kengen offices in Naivasha, this is a photo of Finley Ongera. He was posing with a giraffe who he says normally roams around that area in the background. Finley had gone to the area to visit a friend and says giraffes are friendly to people. And then Timothy Lekumok was on the peak of one of the twin mountains at Ibisil in Kajiado. He was resting after a nature walk through bushy slopes to get to the peak. He says, "I love nature walks because it's peaceful and nature is wonderful." If you want your photo showcased on our Wild Pick segment, just like our NTV Wild Facebook page and send a photo that shows you celebrating nature via private message. Be sure to include your full name, tell us where the photo was taken, what you were doing and why. Once upon a time, this land that surrounds me was a quarry, but over time it has been transformed into a paradise. We have discovered and explored one of Mombasa's best kept secrets, that is Hala Park. But now it's your turn. Come and visit. For more information, just log on to www.lafargeecosystems.co.ke. That's it on NTV Wild Talk with me, Smriti Vidyarthi. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next Tuesday at 10 p.m. Oh, 1, 2, 3, hello and welcome. Testing microphone. Okay. He's waiting. He's like,
It's like Eddie.
oh, I'm so sorry.
He's got his
I'm
mouth
so sorry.
wide open.
So you wanted to headbutt me, woman, ma'am?
NTV Wild Talk in partnership with the Kenya Wildlife Service and Wildlife Direct.
Wangi